What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. I am your host, Raja Burrows, and today we're going to be talking about how to think of your functions and animals as resources. But before we get into that, please be sure to like and subscribe if you are new to this channel or to Objective Personality. Welcome. We are delighted to have you here. If you would like to be notified anytime a new video goes live, go ahead and smash that bell icon. And as always, if you would like to book a personal session with me, you can do so using the Snugg link below. Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about how I wanted to sort of frame this idea of resources. Because it hit me the other day that we talk a lot about the functions being muscles. I think that kind of generally makes sense, right? You can't, if your right arm is a lot stronger than your left arm, then trying to lift one versus the other, you gotta strengthen the left so that the right can be balanced and not overwork. Great. Totally makes sense. Totally get it. One issue that I have had personally when it comes to working on my demons, working on my weaker functions, weaker muscles, whatever, is that I had an intellectual understanding of why it is important, right? Yay, balance. Yay, the things. Yay, having options. Yay, not being stuck or pigeonholed. All of those things intellectually make sense to me, made sense to me, and I kind of just kept on doing it, right? Because, well, this is what you're supposed to do, the math makes sense, I'm getting results, this is fine. But the problem is that whenever I didn't want to, it became astronomically difficult to push through. Because my appreciation of this metaphor was purely intellectual. I didn't get it. I didn't have that extra visceral feeling underneath the thing that I was working on to get me out of bed when it's a little chilly out. Obviously, I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to go running if I hurt my knee the day before. That would be silly. But, doing things like going for a walk instead of a run because you're committed to doing something every day, that's a really important part of habit building and rewarding yourself for that short run to reinforce the habit loop and, keep you going. When you don't really feel like it, you can go, well, let me do at least a little something. But my big issue is because I was approaching this whole thing purely intellectually, I was like, well, if I'm not going to do it right, then why am I doing it? And, listen, my I don't wanna button is pretty easy my I don't wanna switch is pretty easy to flip, right? Let's go with the switch instead of a button, right? If I don't wanna do something, but I know it's probably important that I do it, I am generally 80% of the time pretty good about just doing it and not whining too much about it. Just getting the thing done because I know it's good and I know I'll feel better after I work out or after I eat the salad for lunch instead of the potato skins or whatever, right? But once I started to think about functions and animals and really anything that I'm working on as just building my resource pool, that made things so much easier and clearer, and I think that it maps onto our saviors and demons really nicely. So, fair warning, this is gonna be another video game analogy. I'm sorry. If I had a different analogy that worked just as well, I would not use video game analogies all the time. I have yet to find an analogy that works better or more clearly than this, so this is what you get. So, in a lot of role-playing games, and honestly, just a lot of games in general, there tends to be multiple different resources that skills use, right? Generally speaking, this is not all the time, but generally speaking, you have magic and you have stamina. That's sort of the broad strokes of it. And obviously, the wizardy people tend to use more of the magic based resource. So as you're gaining resources and skill points, if you are more of a wizardy type person, you're like, yeah, I'm going to put the bulk of my resources into doing the wizard thing. Cool. Great. Put them into the magic. Not worry too much about the stamina. It's there. It's getting a little better over time. But I'm not super concerned about like splitting up my skill points. On the other hand, if you are more of like a swordy, daggery, stabby, punchy person, then you're like, you know what? I don't really need that much magic. I'm going to put all of my points into the stamina. That is a great strategy. 100%. That is the way to do it. You do want to focus your skill points where you're using the most resources, right? If you're casting fireballs all the time, and those fireballs require the magic resource, putting skill points into the strength and stamina resource does not make any sense. Great. Fantastic. Here is where, for forever, I would get super screwed up. Is that I wouldn't realize that just because I'm playing as a magic person, and just because I'm putting a lot of points into the magic bucket, the skill bar, doesn't mean that my stamina goes away. And I realized this in the last sort of playthrough I was doing with it. I play Elder Scrolls Online. That's like my main, that's my equivalent of Dave playing Grand Theft Auto. With me, it's Elder Scrolls. And I realized I was playing as this magic dude. I was like, wow, I use my stamina a lot. Like, if I'm actually playing well and in it and thinking about the things, I actually use my stamina a lot to sneak around, to roll, to dodge, to run, all of the physical stuff so that I can get in position to cast my fireballs, right? From a safe distance and do the thing, and it's great and lovely and whatever. But as I was doing that, I was like, oh shit, I did not realize when I'm doing it right how much of the secondary resource I actually use. And it made me think of OP, and it made me think of, oh my god, if I could only rely on magic, I would be screwed. Because I wouldn't have any of the mobility. I wouldn't have any of the mobility to be able to, like, not get hit. Because, like, I wear a little robe, right? I can't take a lot of hits. So I have to make sure to get out of the way and not get hit by things. And then I think about it on the other side. Now I'm like, oh my god, I get it. If I have to use stamina as a wizard, then when I'm like broadsword orc lady, then I also probably need to use magic. And so I started a new file and I'm like playing through it and trying to understand like this balance, right? And now that I'm seeing like, holy shit, I can just use, like, I have so many more resources at my disposal than I ever thought. And I'm realizing in the past, in all of my playthroughs, one of the reasons why it felt so clunky and why it felt so like I can't, like, it was fine. The game, at my level of the game, I'm not trying to like group up or beat huge bosses or anything. Like, I'm just running around and throwing fireballs at things and poking things with daggers. And the game is like that part of the game is actually pretty easy, deliberately so, and this was why I like it so much. But I started thinking, and I was like, I need to be way more cognizant of using this other resource that's just sitting there. And again, these resources refill over time, right? Much in the same way, if we're thinking of our functions, if I do a bunch of NT, and then I take a break from my NT, then my NT muscle, metaphorically speaking, will eventually reset, and then, you know, I'll do the NT for a while, then I'll do some SF for a while, and then I'll maybe do a little ST, and then some NF, and then I'm jumping around, I'm hitting all the different muscles, and letting my functions and animals actually meaningfully recover before trying to, like, get into another fight. And again, I'm still learning how to do this. Like, with the magic person, it came pretty naturally. But now I'm on the other side of it, and I'm like, how do I even think about using magic when I have a sword? That's not how this works. But very, very quickly, I was like, oh my god, I get it. Because if I just use the stamina stuff, right? If I just do, you know, wear down my stamina bar, well, now I can't sprint. Now I can't dodge. And now I'm just like, oh, I guess I just have to stand here and wait for my stamina bar to come back before going into the next fight. And that's annoying. And I'm like, if I managed my resources a little better and split the difference between, and like started to feel comfortable using the magic skills and magic buttons on my controller, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I can do some of the stamina things because that is a big part of my character. And then when the stamina's getting a little on the low side, use a little magic, right? I don't have as much of a reserve there. Like, that's definitely like the second tank. But I can use that plenty. That's perfectly fine. And then by the time the magic gets depleted, the stamina will probably have come back, more or less. And then I can use the stamina, finish off the fight. And then once the fight is done, now I can chill, relax, let everything regenerate, respawn. It's fine. And then I move forward. And once that really snapped into place, I was like, oh my god, yeah, that's how to work on the functions. That's how to work on the functions. And I really like this framing of it, because when it comes to all the functions, I am a big, deep, gut level believer in the fact that all of our functions are magical, all of our functions are amazing. Using all of our animals is what makes us the fullest, best, most extraordinary versions of ourselves that we can be. But I realized that framing it as, oh, well, I like doing this and I don't like doing that, that introduces a dichotomy that I don't think is necessary. I don't think we need to introduce the I don't wanna switch into the equation at all. Like, that's just, it's completely unnecessary if we are trying to work on our demons, make forward progress, whatever. It's just, this resource bar is bigger than the other one. And truthfully, this doesn't... Now look, if you're... I'm just going to use... I'm going to use Ty Lopez as an example, because he is a more extreme version of me. So he is... he's, you know, INTJ guy, but he's doubling up on his blast, consume last, double activated, lead, savior, masculine, NI. So, like, someone like Ty Lopez would definitely do well to, like, build up his SF meter a little bit. He maybe has a few too many resources put into his NT blast. Should probably actually work on the SF consume and the updating his worldview. But the two do not need to be equally strong necessarily. Obviously, you having as many options and being able to use all of your reasons, that's amazing. Oh my God. Like, don't shy away from working on things, obviously. But I think of my own, NTST. Again, so because I'm a glass lizard, I sort of lump my animals together as being like savior state versus demon state. NTST is my savior state. SFNF is my demon state, right? And so thinking of it as, okay, is my SFNF bar good enough to cover my NTST blind spots, right? That's what I'm really interested in. Because it can be actually really demoralizing, at least for me, to feel like, my NTST is so good, my SFNF sucks. Therefore, nothing, like it's never gonna be even, and I'm in this constant state of just feeling shitty. As opposed to, step one, take a step back. What am I actually trying to accomplish? Like, what thing am I trying to do or get done or work? Like, what is the goal? What is the solution? And then from there, mindfully choose, okay, do this, do that. Use this for a while and then pivot to this for a little bit. No, it won't be as strong, but this muscle that you've been using, it needs a break. It is overworked. You got to let it chill, right? You can't just keep doing chest presses 5 days a week. You can't skip leg day. You got to do leg day. You got to do leg day. Not only is it important to build up your leg muscles, it's really important to give your biceps and pectorals a break so that when you come back to it, they're stronger. They're ready to go. They're ready to do work for you. And so, with that in mind, I think it makes it a lot more accommodating, a lot gentler on your demons, because it's like, listen, there is no expectation for my SF and my NF to be anywhere near as good as my NTST. If that happens, amazing. And of course, over time, I would love to sort of like get them to where I can do both for long enough, pretty effortlessly, depending on the circumstance. Great, fine, whatever. But for the majority of my life, my NTST is always going to be stronger than my SFNF, and that is fine. What I need to focus on and remember, what I encourage you to focus on and remember as well, is this idea of once your saviors are depleted, you aren't screwed. You're fine. I promise you are fine once your saviors are depleted. And frankly, in a lot of situations, not all, but in lots of situations, defaulting to your saviors is not the worst plan. It's not the worst plan. Where you get screwed up is if you go, well, I've depleted my savior bar and there's nothing else I can do. Well, no, you have a whole other bar over there. You have a whole other, like, if I've NI'd, to death and my NI is depleted, right? INTJ dude over here. My NI is fully depleted. But the project isn't done. I haven't solved the thing. I haven't achieved the result that I needed to. I have two choices. I can either sit there and do nothing and wait for my NI to regenerate, Or I can go, okay, NI is tapped out. Great. Let me pivot to my SE, do my SE for as long as is needed for my NI to get back up to speed, right? To refill the tank. And then I'll give my SE a break. And I'm like, great job, SE. Killer pinch hitting. Fantastic second string quarterbacking. I was so close to not making a Friday Night Lights analogy, but I just finished season 1 last night, so it sucks to be you guys. Here's the thing. Your savior is Jason Street. He's handsome, he can sing, he's Mr. Hunky, high school football star, playing in the NFL. But he makes a tackle wrong, and he's paralyzed for the rest of his life. His life is just done when it comes to his playing football career. So now, Jason Street's got to learn how to be a person and move forward in his life and be a productive, healthy, happy person, human. While the Dillon Panthers, they still got a whole season to play. They're trying to win state. They are trying to win state, and all they got is scrawny little backup quarterback Matt Saracen, who's got to step up to the plate. Now, obviously in this case, Jason Street is not coming back to play because he's paralyzed and also a senior. But if you think of your saviors and demons as just like first string, second string, yes, obviously you want your kick-ass quarterback, right? But sometimes, your quarterback hurts his hand. Then your second string quarterback has got to get on the field, finish out the rest of the game, see what he can do, and then he does the best he can. And then that first string quarterback heals for a week while second string is still practicing, still doing all the things. And then maybe by game time, first string is ready. Maybe they split time. Maybe they do whatever. But it's not an instance of, I can't believe I have to do this other thing. I don't wanna. Wanna doesn't have to factor into it. It just doesn't. It's just a different resource. And in your particular case, your demons are just resources that you haven't built up enough yet. But over time you will. And it's important to give your demons a little bit of time on the field so that they can figure out how to pinch hit. So they can figure out how to do their job and support the saviors. And that there can be like a real collaboration and co-creation and symbiosis between all of your functions. If you just look at them like resources, then it's, I'm going to use this resource first. And then I'm going to use this other resource. And then I'm going to, and then that resource is going to reset. Then I'll use that. And then I'll use this one. And you're just going back and forth. And there's no judgment. There's no ego. There's no anything really to get over. It's just looking at all of the abundance of resource that you have around you, within you, and just using what you got. Because we all have a lot. Not everything, but we have a lot within us and around us. And it is our responsibility as growth-minded adults to choose to see all of the resources that we have, regardless of whether or not we are comfortable with them or not. Step one is recognizing them for the resources that they are, and then consciously choosing to use the secondary resource while the primary resource is resting and recovering. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. As always, I love you. I see you. Now let's do the damn thing.